So number 4, we're just cruising along here. I don't know if you guys know who Claude Debussy is. He is he's a musician around the 1800s. And he's known, I'm going to play a little music for you. Hopefully you guys can hear that in the background. There we go. You guys hear the Claude Debussy music now? Kind of curious if you can hear the music. Can you hear the music? Because it's really awesome. No?
No, nothing.
Damn it. It's so good. That's too bad. Well, I can hear it, and it's beautiful. I should have tried that technology before I tried to share it. So let me go back to the slides. It's a picture, but that's okay. Thanks, Katerina. So spacing. So one of the things that Claude Debussy was known for saying is music is the space between the notes. Music is the space between the notes. And what he was referring to is that, you hear the note and you hear the tone, but it's almost the anticipation of the next note is where the music actually happens. And so this idea of transferring this concept into your sales pipeline is that if we consider our sales funnel or our sales pipeline, we know that we have these kind of big steps in the sale. We have the qualification meeting, we have a needs analysis meeting, we have the demo, then we have a technical meeting or a compliance meeting, and then we have to talk to this person, that person. These are all kind of like big steps, these big meetings. But the problem a lot of times in sales is we have this space between those big meetings, whether it's from the time somebody asks for a demo and we get to the product demo, or post-product demo, we have the meeting with the compliance or IT people. There's always this space between the notes, right? And so what we want to do, thank you, IMIP team for posting that. What we want to do is make sure that in that space between the notes that we've given ourselves some open loops, in order to take the next action. And so a couple of ways that we can do that, of course, is by at like the end of our meeting and say, hey, listen, the next 3 steps for us is to do these 3 things. But more specifically, there's a couple of really specific techniques that you can use in the space between the meetings. And I'm going to share a couple of those with you. 3 of them that I like, and there's a few more that I'll share here. One of them is like in between the demo meeting and the technical meeting, I love to grab like a 10-minute call in between those 2 meetings. So I'm like, listen, hey, I'm meeting with your IT guy on Tuesday, John. And, as I was preparing for that meeting, I was hoping to grab 10 minutes of your time because I have a couple quick questions. I could really use your help on something. Right. So now what I've done is I've added a touch and I've broken down what is kind of like this formal meeting to meeting communication. I've kind of broken through that and I've created a more informal, hey, I can just pick up the phone and ask John a question. So there's a really good anecdote from when Ben Franklin was alive. And one of the things he used to do with people, that especially people that were his adversaries politically, is he learned to ask them for a favor. And the psychology here is that if I'm asking you for a favor, you're saying, I must trust Scott. And so one of the things that Ben Franklin used to do is he would find out from his adversaries something that they might be interested in or something they might have, and he would ask to borrow it. So one of the things he used to do all the times is borrow books. So he'd go up to one of his political adversaries and go, hey, Walter, listen, it's come known to me that you have a copy of William Shakespeare's collected works. And I'm a huge William Shakespeare fan, and I would love to get a copy of that. Would you mind if I borrowed that book from you for a couple of weeks? And this guy, Walter, is like, well, sure. And then would let him borrow the book. And in most cases, he would never actually read the book. He would take the book home, put it on his nightstand, wait 2 weeks, and then bring it back to Walter. But what he was doing by asking for that favor, he was implicitly forcing trust. And in a weird way, even though the customer, we don't want to think of them as an adversary, we do need to build some trust. And so if we can come to that person with reasons why we need their help, it's essentially them going, oh, yes, I'd be happy to help you because I must trust you, or otherwise you wouldn't be asking me for this favor. So a couple ways you can do that in between meetings oftentimes is the one that I just mentioned, like, hey, got a quick question for you, or hey, I could really use your help. So, after the last meeting, you asked me to put together a proposal, and I think I've got everything in here that we had talked about in the last meeting. We're like 90% of the way there, but there's a couple of questions that I'm just not sure about. I could really use your help. Or, hey, before I send this over to you, would you mind if we reviewed this together over the phone, just to make sure that I captured everything in the last meeting, because there was a lot of different things that we talked about. And so, could we grab 10 minutes on the phone? And you could, you don't even necessarily ask for 10 minutes. You can just, it's a free country. It's a free world in most places. Pick up the phone, right? If you've got John's phone number, pick up the phone and go, hey, John, Scott here over at Sales Quality. Listen, I could really use your help. I'm working on that proposal right now that we talked about in the last meeting, and I really will want to send it over to you. I want to make sure it's got everything in it that you guys need. So would you mind if I ask you a couple of quick questions to fill in a few gaps? And then when I'm done, could we maybe book 30 minutes on the phone before I send this over, just to kind of go through it point by point to make sure I've captured everything? Would that be okay? Right? So what we've done is we've started to fill the space in between those big events, because the customer, again, their buying process is, oh, we did the demo and we asked for the proposal. We're done. We're done until they send the proposal. The next step is for us to get the proposal, and then we get to do our thing. We get to decide if we're even going to read it, we're going to evaluate it, talk about it, get back to that person. But if instead we sort of use that disarming, they think they're done, and instead we kind of like protrude in that space and go, hey, actually, before this next step can happen, I need your help, or I got a question, or before I send this over, can we grab 10 minutes? Or, oh, by the way, who's the best person to answer this question? So maybe you ask John a really specific technical question that John can't answer. Like, who would be the best person on the IT team? Or who's the best person on the risk team? Or who's the best person that works on the compliance team that I could ask to make sure that whatever goes in this proposal is in line with your expectations? Or, hey, could I get a look at your database architecture? Or could I get a look at your product, just to make sure that I'm understanding where we might fit into how you're rolling out your solution to your customers? These are all ways that you can fill the space between the notes. And what that does is helps you uncover additional needs. It's another opportunity to do another soft contract. It's a way to do trial closes if it's in between, say, have the demo meeting and now they're asking for the proposal. Well, let's not just send a proposal and hope. Let's put together a proposal that we know has everything in it that they need to order to approve it. Or even earlier stage, you've got the lead qualification call, and the person goes, great, I'd love to do a product demo next week, and I'll bring the whole team. Okay, that's awesome. Book that meeting. And then between now and that meeting, you go, gosh, John, I realize you got 2 or 3 other people in the meeting that you're bringing in. I'd really love to get 10 minutes with each of those people just to get their perspective on the key issue, critical business issue that you guys are facing, and ask them give them an opportunity to ask a few questions about our company before we get into that demo, so that we get the most out of that time with